How you doing? Another Tuesday. Ah, so did you guys watch Albin's bike for a start today? I gave it a little spray to get it going. It wasn't running technically on its own yet. But man, can't believe how fast Tuesdays come. Hope everybody is doing absolutely wonderful. Can you guys hear me all right? Man, I will tell you, it's just been a crazy week. Working on Albin's bike, got that thing going, made that little lift to put my four wheeler on and the riding lawnmowers and stuff. Did that at the end of Alvin's video. It has been a great project that came out awesome. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff happening. It's been the world has been upside down, crazy, and we got to look past it all, though, guys. We got to look past it all, regardless of what side you're on. There's always motorcycles, right? We got to have some positivity. So, but yeah, no, it's been a crazy week. A lot of stuff has been going on, and just trying to get that shop cleaned up and get things organized and get these projects going. We got a couple of GT80. We have a GT80 and an MX80 coming up. The gentleman Brian's bringing one up, actually both of them up, for me to go through and work on. So that's going to be fun. And Alvin's bike, I'm hoping to get that thing finished up, and then we're going to do a nice comparison video between the KE100 and the KE125. That's going to be a really good video. There is a lot of differences, and there's a lot to show you. His bike is a really super cool bike. Got a fresh build on. You should mix the gas and oil. You should keep the automatic oiler hooked up, because you need that for the rotary valve and for the right hand main bearing. It literally, if it's a fresh rebuild, you want to have your oil injection hooked up. It is not good practice on a rotary valve to disconnect it, because the rotary valve, when it's spinning between the engine block and that housing, that rotary valve rides on a cushion of two-stroke oil. So if you're looking at your intake, the injector is at an angle. It doesn't go into the stream, and the reason why, it goes in the direction of travel to keep that what do you call it, the rotary valve lubricated. The MR52 stroke, nice. It's that's the mini Elsinore, I believe, right? That thing's awesome. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome for the video. That's awesome. That must be a nice little bike. You must be super excited about that. Yeah, the that's like a mini Elsinore bike. That thing is a really cool little bike. I love those little things. Hopefully I run into one in my travels. Run it without the oil is definitely not a good. Use clear. Use clear fuel line for your automatic oiler and your fuel system. And I'll tell you, those oil pumps are made by Makuni, and they are top of the line pumps, and they work. They work amazing. And when they do go, if you look at my yellow bike, my little KM100, that actually had oil pump failure. And when it failed, it overpumped. And that's what they do. The oil leaks right past the valve that's inside there, and basically you'll flood it out. So if your oil pump does fail, it will over oil as opposed to under oiling. So it doesn't. What it does is the valve moves up and down inside there and gives it enough. Gives it more fuel or less fuel depending upon the cable position. And mine literally wore out. So mine was stuck all the way, and even when they're down, like say it was in the down position, the pressure will automatically pop it back up. So it's actually working to keep it in the closed position than it is in the up position. And they did that so it wouldn't fail. So it's a pretty cool thing. Yes, the oil has to circulate. You have to get all the air bubbles out. You got to bleed it and make sure you have um, no air in the line. Now, if you look between your oil pump and where it goes in the banjo fitting, there's a clear line that goes through there. You'll see that's all filled up with oil. That's how you can tell you're getting oil out of it. I actually did a video on how to prime a pump. I made a tool for that, and I used my little electric drill. So I literally, when I do a fresh engine, I prime up that pump and I make sure I get oil all the way in there without even turning the engine over. I can literally, I used a 3/8 adapter, cut a slot in it, so it fits on the pump. I spun up the pump with my cordless drill with the off the motor, and then it literally you'll see the oil just sprays in there. Then I bolt it down, and I'm good to go. It's a really I'll tell you. And the other thing too, when you have a KE 100 and you want to go, and I said this in my last couple of videos, when you go to the gas station, you want to be able to put pump gas in there right out of the pump and then take off again. If you pre-mix your bike, well, then you're gonna have to, you know, you're gonna have to take an extra gas can with you to do a pre-mix, and you don't want that. No, you don't want that at all. Um, Now, what you do is if you got a fresh engine, you want to start it up, and you already bled up the oil. The oil pump. You got the air's out, and then you can see a little bit of trickle. Sometimes it takes a while for it to go through the line. So typically, what I would do if I was if I didn't have the tool to prime up the pump or anything like that, I would mix a quart of gas with to 24 to 1. I dump that in there and burn that out. By the time you burn through that quart of just mixed gas, then what will happen is you'll have oil at your motor by that point, and then you can go ahead and put regular straight gas in it. Smoke, smoke. A smoke is a really good indication that you're getting oil. Um, you'll smell the two-stroke. So if you had a two-stroke engine, it was just getting gas, there'd be no odor to it, no smell. When you get on a throttle on a two-stroke, first thing you know is the smoke. Second thing, the smell. And that's how you know you're getting two-stroke, you're getting oil. But before you do any of that, like he was just talking about, well, he was just talking about, well, he was talking about he did a fresh rebuild, so he wants to make sure it's getting oil. So pull the covers off, look at that oil line, and make sure that there's oil in that clear line. I always use, which I'm changing the other bikes over. They haven't been done yet, but I'm going to be doing that this spring. Is all my bikes are receiving clear fuel line for the automatic oiler. This way, I can look. I can just look down and see that my oil is in the line, and I can see what's going on. And basically, that is a great way to know that your automatic oil is getting oil. And because it's a little harder to look on the side sight window, but I have the half tank rule. Every time I ride the bike, I have to have either a full tank of oil to a half tank. When it gets to a half tank, I don't care what it is. I won't even ride the bike if I don't put oil in it. I don't want to take a chance of it sucking any air in there and burning up the motor, because literally what will happen is that engine, when if there's no oil in there, you'll notice the bike will wind up even though it's not getting oil, because instead of sucking oil in, it's gonna be sucking air. And extra air creates lean conditions, and that right there creates problems. So on my bike, I was getting too much oil, and when I started the bike up, it was a plume. I mean, just bellowing out that exhaust. You couldn't even see the bike. I mean, it was bad. And then I noticed I had a lot of soot on my exhaust, and I noticed that the rim and the tire was always getting oil. It was always oil soaked. Yeah, yeah. So if I I'm understanding. So basically, what you want to do is when you give it throttle, you'll see the smoke coming out the tailpipe. And that's how you'll see the smoke and you're getting oil. These oilless systems, like I said, they've been around, oh, 50, 60 years, maybe longer. I mean, I've seen bikes from the 60s that have these oilers on them, and they're good. They work, and they're bulletproof. And when they do, if they do go, remember, it's going to overfill because the plunger's trying to hold it down. And what happens is it's actually trying to slow the oil down. So when they fail in the open position and it dumps oil. So which is what happened with mine. It doesn't do it where it shuts the oil off and then burns it up. And that's in my experience. And I've only had my yellow one go. I have seen another one go, and well, like I said, when they go, they stick open and dump oil in. So either way, you cover with the oiler. I have not seen an oil go diaphragm oilers. I don't trust those. Yeah. I'm not understand if you got gas in the oil tank or the gas tank. What cost is pro- You have two tanks on your bike. You have an oil injection tank and you have a regular gas tank. You put obviously regular gas in the regular gas tank and two-stroke oil in the other one, and then it goes down through the pump, mixes at the carburetor where the intake is, and then shoots the oil in that way, and then off you go. You'll never have two-stroke oil in the gas tank unless someone put it in there. There's no way for it to go, up that way, or there's just no possible way. So the only way you can get gas in the oil tank is if you put the gas in it, or if you put premixed gas in the oil tank. That's how you get that in it. But you don't want to do that. That is only for two-stroke oil, straight oil, no gas. The gas goes in the gas tank. The two-stroke mix oil goes in that tank. Yeah, it's a real nice system. And the cool thing about that is when you're out on the road and you're going for a ride and you're low on gas, you can just pull up to the gas pump, fill up your tank, drive off. And typically you'll get about 2 to 3, maybe more. Yeah, probably a little bit more runs on that oil tank. So you have to check them, and you can look on the side of your side cover, and there's like a little window, and you can see the oil floating around in there. And if it's solid, you're full. You're up over that level. And if you see that you can see the back of it, then you need to stop and put oil in it because you're getting low. But that's one of my preliminary checks. I always check it. I don't even play with it. I keep oil here. When I start using it, I fill it back up. Done. Perfect. Don't have to worry about it. So really cool. Yeah, there's preliminary checks. And the other thing that can stop you, yeah, should full tanks. Yeah, I mean you don't have to keep them full. You can run the gas tank down. I mean you don't have to keep it full. I mean it just depends on what type of ride you're doing. Your oil tank, I always keep that full, but I do let it come down a few inches. You want to let your oil tank go down a little bit because you want to make sure that it's using the oil. So that's a way you can check. But I have the halfway. So when it gets up to that sight window, so you get your tank's about this big, and then the sight window is about halfway. When it hits the halfway mark, I make sure I fill up that oil. And the other thing you want to do too, a big part of the oilers that are most neglected, and a lot of people don't realize it, is on the top of the oil tank. You cap over here, and then on the back side there's a little nipple, and typically it has a hose onto it, and it goes under the rear fender. Sometimes, um, I've seen spider nest in there, the dirt little bugs there that make a solid dirt house. Anyway, when they build up crap inside there, that becomes solid. Now, what that does is that stops the oil from going into your oil pump. You want to make sure that tube is clean and clear, and I always check that every time. That is one of my preliminary checks on my bike. Make sure you have a clear hose on there. Don't put a black one on there. Make sure it's clear so you can see if there's any dirt or any blockage in that tube. That's the vent tube on your oil tank. Make sure that is clean. That right there will stop the engine for oil if it's plugged. And you can do that. I did that same thing with a straw. If you put the straw in water and you put your finger over the top and you pull it up, the water will stay in the straw. It won't come out the bottom until you open it up. Same thing with that tank vent. Make sure that that is clean and clear, because that right there will rob your engine of oil, and you will burn up your motor. Are you talking about your what you call it there? Your gas tank, or your oil tank? Yes, that's gonna be coming up soon, Peter. I'm gonna be working on that KE 100, and I'll be back on this next week. I'll be back on Dave's motor, so I'm gonna be showing you guys how to do oil seals. Peter had asked me to do a video on crank seals, and I've been trying to get that out. I just haven't got to that point yet. Um, if I take a seal out, I have to make sure I have a seal to put back in it. I do have the crank seals for the TC or TS 125 Suzuki, so I'll be doing that on that bike. Oh, no problem. And I'll show you. Excuse me. I'll show you the ins and outs on that. There's a couple of steps to it, but nothing too crazy. And I have some tips and stuff like that, Peter. I think you're gonna really like. I think you're gonna like that. Crank seals are really simple when you're doing them. It's all about placement, And well, I'm going to show you guys some cool stuff with that. Yeah, we'll be back on Dave's bike. I want to get that thing buttoned up. We have I want to finish off Aaron's bike, get his off the bench. Then we'll be back in the other shed doing the whatchamacallit there. Dave's motor. Getting Dave's motor done. What's that? Oh yeah, yeah, the LT 175. Those are great bikes. Fine, right. Yeah, sometimes you'll have to go online. Try searching for the four wheel. Try searching on Partzilla. You might be able to find them on Partzilla. Also, too, you can also check out see if you can find some local what they call them there, ATV junkyards. Just type that in a Google search, and typically you'll find a couple. Also, too, you can do is you can go on call a dealer, an actual dealer, and that's gonna be stupid money, but they won't have them in stock for an 82, but they might know somebody who has all these, shops have connections. So you're looking for a dealer who knows a smaller dealer, and typically a good salesperson will help you with that. Oh, yeah, thank you about the bolt removal. Yeah, that was pretty good. I did the first bolt. I took that out, and I'm like, I should have did a video. That's a great video to do a show how I remove bolts. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I prick punch the bottom screw, I did that a slight bit bottom, a slight lower than center, because I wanted to show you how to fix a mess up. So I did two things on that one. I didn't center punch it right in the center. I went a little low, and then I showed you how to walk the drill bit up and then go into it, and how to set the depth. It was a great video. I was very happy to do that for you guys. So yeah, it was pretty cool. What's that? What's that? I use two-stroke oil when I do the cylinders. I use the Permatex assembly lube, or if I don't have any of that, I use the whatchamacallit there, two-stroke oil. You can use two-stroke oil. In fact, some places, I was watching one of the YouTubers on one of my car repair videos that I watch. I like watching, see what other mechanics are doing. And this is how you learn. You can learn different techniques and stuff like that. He used WD-40, and one of the things he said about the WD-40 is it allows the rings to seat in pretty quickly. And you're going to have your oil already primed, so you're going to have that on there. So it's pretty cool how watch these other videos and see what they did. and it allowed the rings to seat quicker, which I'm actually going to try that. He did it on video, so you can see him do it in front of it. A 76 KD 100M, great bike. That will run for a while and then shut off. Stop, won't stop back up. Carb is spotless inside. Gas cap off. Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. And with the gas cap open, it still sounds like you have a vent problem, even though the gas cap is open. One of the most common things I see on this problem, because I figured that was going to come up in this video, I brought in a carburetor just for this particular reason. So you clean your carburetor, and your carburetor is spotless. It looks like this. This is actually missing the main jet because I robbed it for another carburetor. But this problem, this carburetor, which is brand spanking new, brand new, not used, not old, brand new out of the box, had that exact same problem. So here's the problem with this carburetor. Do you see this vent right here? This is actually an air jet. The air travels through here, goes through. Remember that carburetor video I had when I took the center part of the carburetor out when I cleaned it, and you can see I showed you the space where the air comes in and allows the fuel to fill up. So here's what happens if this is clogged and the vents are clogged. What will happen is fuel won't be able to get in there, even if it's a free, clear flowing system. It won't allow it because when the fuel comes in, it's got to push the air out, and it comes out through the vents, sometimes on the sides of the carburetor, and sometimes it comes through here. Or it allows the air to come in here, this way, and does the opposite, so the fuel can come into here. So the air has to come in here and flow out this way, because some of these vents have check valves. So I would try cleaning your front vent. I actually had a couple of people. There's a video on a gentleman who sent me up a carburetor, set it up because he couldn't figure out what the problem was. And I showed a video. You'll see this right here mounted on my little carburetor stand, and I had it up top there. And he's like, I can't get this thing to stop, to work. Turns out it was that vent right there clogged. And sometimes that could be a little pain in the neck to do. And a trick to cleaning that out, if you go to your Christmas decorations and grab one of your chrome little hooks, you straighten it out, you can use that to clean them out. It works pretty well. Okay, what was that other question? Do you know any online places? So, Peter, what's wrong with your crankshaft? I asked this because I've had people want to replace crankshafts because it needed two bearings on the outer part. You could buy those replacement bearings. Um, the crankshafts are rebuildable on these bikes. I've done a couple of them. If you don't see what damages the crankshaft is when you hit them on the end with the hammer, threads are messed up on the end. Could you email me a picture of that? I'm gonna check that out after. Hold on one second. Stay with me, guys. Yeah, send me yeah, both sides. So you basically hit it with a hammer out of the case. Is that what the case was? Typically, that's what happens with them. They get hit with a hammer on both sides, and when you're taking these things apart, they can get stuck in the case. And I'm going to do another follow up on that. Yeah, he shifted because a lot of people can't figure out what's going on with carburetors. So what they'll do is they'll send them up to me, and I'll go through them and I'll ship them back to them, and it works out pretty well. Might be able to chase threads. They have what do you call it there? Put a nice tap on there, And you might be able to do this. Oh, you might be able to fix that with a thread chaser. You could, if you want to ship it up to me, I can take a look at it for you and see what I can do. I do have a few crankshafts that I could let go. I have a couple. So worst case scenario. Yeah, the bad nut. I see a lot of people putting American nuts on it, and oh, that looks close. That'll work. What the heck? Nope, nope. Get the one it calls for. That's the best way to go. Possible. You can, but that's not really the one that leaks all the time. The one that really leaks is the one that's in the case. Unfortunately, that's the most common one, and the reason why is because the crankshaft is producing a ton of heat. The bearing is creating a ton of heat, and it is literally just in between the two cooking, and it's a really bad design. It honestly is. At least like on the KU100s, they're on the outside. I like outboard seals. Um, but the Suzuki, my DS80, my DS100 is like that, and it's a common thing, unfortunately. Yeah, I get that. I see a lot of that. They're not sure how to take it apart. They grab the hammer and see if they can knock it through. Just one of those things. Uh, what I do with the what I do with seals is, first I spray around. I take some brake cleaner or some carburetor cleaner and make. Don't do what I did. I bought some carburetor cleaner at Walmart. And guess what? I didn't know they made a non-flammable carburetor cleaner. So I'm trying to find a leak. I can't find a leak with this stuff because it was non-flammable. But you want to make sure you spray around the cylinder head. You want to spray around the intake, the exhaust, and around the base. If you got no leaks up in that area, okay, on the top of the jug, or on the, within the whole cylinder range, then you got to go for the crank seals. The best way to check them is do a pressure test. But how many people just have a pressure tester on hand? I mean, I have one, but I do this professionally. So I spray those. If all those check out to be good and sealed and tight, then it's a crank seal. If it's acting like a crank seal. I've had a couple of people try to replace crank seals because they thought it needed crank seals when it totally doesn't. Crank seals, on an average, last a very, very long time. Yeah, unfortunately, that just happened. Opening up the case is really not that bad. If you want to get the seals, you're more than welcome to ship it up to me, and we'll work something out. I have a lot of people who just let Kevin do it. He knows what he's doing, you know. But I want you to at least, think about trying to do that because it's really not that bad. And the crank seals on the TS125 is really, it looks intimidating, but it's really not. And that's why I'm trying to do clear videos on it. I'm going to be doing videos on from taking it apart, putting it back together, and going through the whole thing. So, and you're going to see I'm going to be making a generic tester, for pressure testing these things. Hey, James, checking these things out because you guys really need to know how to pressure test using a vacuum gauge, a vacuum pump, which you can get the AutoZone, like, 20, $30. Ultimately, what I would like to have done is by the time I get all my series complete, you guys are going to have as much knowledge as to go out even into the field and start doing this stuff. Um, that's my goal for this channel, to make you guys into mechanics, to get you guys to understand everything that goes into them. And once you guys start doing it, you're going to pick up on it. But it starts with you guys working on your bikes and getting out there. So I'm the last resort, but try it. Get in there. Try it out. If you have questions, People contact me all the time through Facebook, Facebook Messenger. Feel free to do that, guys. It's cool. Um, have time to talk with you guys on the phone, and it's cool. I want you guys to have the experience that I have with my bikes, and I have a lot of bikes, and I'm still getting bikes, but it's one of those things where I am your wingman. So get out there, tackle these projects, and get these things out there because, man, I'm telling you, it's awesome. Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely, that's what we're here for. Bring your questions. Let's. I really enjoy doing this. So this is my Tuesday night, you know, hanging out, answering questions, chit chatting, talking with you guys, seeing what's going on with your bikes, and that's what we do here. So pretty cool. It's been such a great night for January. The weather's been outstanding, outstanding. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, Dave's bike. He's gonna have himself a sweet bike. I'm just thrilled to death to work on that thing. He's gonna have himself a beautiful, beautiful bike. Mike's bike came out good. Dave's bike's gonna come out just as good. My KD80 ride shuts off, clean the plug, and starts right back up. Okay. What was on the plug? Was it oily or was it just fouled out with gas? Because the reason why I'm asking, you want to check if you keep going through plugs, one of the first things to check is check your adjustment between your automatic oiler and your carburetor. Okay, and make sure that they're working good and all like the timing marks line up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the throttle, and then see if the two alignments line up. If they line up, then you have a problem elsewhere. If they're off, you could be getting too much oil, and that is a common what do you call it? It's common for that to foul plug. Totally understand. Yeah, pull those covers off and check that out. It's the first step on checking that out. Two strokes go through a lot of plugs, but there's a point where enough is enough. What's going on with this bike? So that right there would be one of those scenarios where you're definitely going to want to check your timing on your oiler. And once again, the oiler works kind of backwards. So when you turn that throttle, it's letting it go down to give it the oil. I got the 30L ultrasonic cleaner. Oh, 30, yeah. James, my secret formula, simple green. Yep. They make a cleaner for carburetors for the ultrasonic cleaner, and it's like $40 a gallon, $44 a gallon. I almost fell over. So what do? You put a little bit of just a little bit. You don't want to put too much simple green in because it'll eat. It'll eat. Okay, it gets hungry. So I fill it up with what do you call it there? With a full thing of water, and then I put in maybe 2 to 3 ounces of simple green, just to tinge the water green. Works works great. It really does. It's just a great thing. Typically, I put that in first, 2 to 3 ounces, and then when the water goes in there, it mixes it all up. And I save it. I don't just throw it out after the first use. So typically, what I'll do is I'll run it, and then that little valve on the side, I'll open that up. I'll put it into an old 5-gallon gas can, and I keep it in there. And then when I go to use my ultrasonic cleaner, I'll dump that back in there. I usually use it about 2 to 3 times. Yeah, I've never tried the Paul Malt. I have heard of that, Brian. Hey, Tyler. Happy Tuesday. Metropolitan, nice. Yeah, we gotta get on Harvey Spooner's Raz too. You gotta check that thing out. It's got low compression. When you kick it over, it's got no compression on that thing. He just reminded me when you said Metropolitan. He's got the Yamaha Raz. It's got like no compression. Well, I did the video I showed you guys when I picked him up with Harvey Spooner. The um the air filter's been taken off. He ran it with no air filter, so it's got a lean condition. No air filter. He rode it on the road. It's got dirt ingestion. So I'm expecting to see some serious carnage inside there. Yeah, it's going to be a cool little bike. Hey, Kyle. Yep, I remember the name. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. It's going to be a cool. What do you call it? There. It's going to be a cool little bike. I like it. I would like to get my hands on one. To be honest with you, I think it'd be a fun little bike. But I'm always on the Cape. You never know. I'll probably ride around the yard. Who knows? But fun bike. Definitely a fun bike. I gotta drink more water, guys. I drink more water. Stay hydrated. I'm dehydrated. I don't drink enough. Oh yeah, no. You put premix. Premix. The oil goes in the oil tank. You know, for the automatic oil, but never premix the fuel. Yeah, that right there will eat it out. That right there is he's looking for damage. Yeah, that will cause damage. Absolutely, 100%. Basically, what he's doing is he's not using. He's actually he's probably getting like a 90-to-1 oil mix when he does something like that because you're pre-mixing it in the in the jug and then you're putting that in the oiler. So now the oiler is the engine's now receiving gas from the tank and gas from the premix. That's too much gas and not nearly enough oil. Yep, 25-to-1 is a common ratio for the older bikes. In fact, that's what a lot of people use on the Suzukis and stuff like that. Like my DS80, my DS100, those are all 25-to-1s. Yep, that's a factory ratio. It's a good. That is a lot of oil. That's what makes them smoke. That's what you want. I see a lot of people lean them to the 32-to-1. That's dangerous for these engines because what they'll do is they'll see what these newer bikes are running, 32-to-1 and so forth, and then they're going to go, oh, 40-to-1, I'll run that. That's not enough oil for these hard working engines. And what happens is they heat up, they burn up. But they rip when you do that, but you burn up, you just burn them up. I mean, that's all you're doing. You're throwing money away because you know you're going to be buying a piston, possibly a cylinder, rings, the whole shebang. It's not worth it. And the material is different. So a motocross piston, it's a different type of aluminum. It's not the same. You know, the coating is different. The Nicosile, the way they apply it is different. It's just not a good thing. Yeah. Non-ethanol gas is great for the bikes. You don't. Ethanol is very bad. So what ethanol is corn oil basically. It's from vegetables, and vegetables need one thing to work. Vegetables need one thing to live. I mean, and that's water. So a vegetable in itself attracts water. So same thing with ethanol fuel. It attracts water, and that's what destroys these bikes. It breaks down. It's a biodegradable fuel, so it's breaking down. When it breaks down, it becomes more acidy. What does that do? That eats the seals, that corrodes. It's a really bad fuel to have. I mean, unfortunately, we're stuck with it, but that's why you want to get a better quality. What do you call it? There, two-stroke mix, and always use premium gas. A lot of times you get racing fuel. That works good too. The bikes love that stuff. I'll tell you, You spend a little bit of money at a gas station. We have Happens up the street, and they get 100 octane. You put that on your bike, and that is ethanol free. Your bike will love you. You feel the power. The bike runs cooler, and you get more power out of it. Oh, it's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fuel. So, yeah, that's what the races use too. They use the high octane. Excuse me. I don't use anything less than 93. If I'm desperate, 91, but nothing in the 80s. Stay away from the 80 octane, the 83 or 81, 83 or 89. Nope, 90 or above. I had one person put 104 octane boost in their tank. That was not good. That's got other additives in it. So you gotta be careful what you're running for additives because certain additives can destroy rings and stuff like that. I get a lot of that type of stuff. It's crazy. Yes, it does save a lot of carburetor headaches. I always clean mine out completely. Yes, I have a few Briggs& Stratton 5 horsepowers. I got a Briggs 5 horsepower on my rototiller. I had one on my mini bike that I had a while back. Um, the 5 horsepower Briggs is one of my favorite motors, actually. In fact, I have one in the shop. I'll show you guys that next time. I actually robbed parts off. I robbed the fuel tank assembly off it for my brother's leaf blower. But oh yeah, yep, I fix a lot of Briggs. In fact, I'm Briggs& Stratton certified. I used to work at a small engine shop, and not that long ago, and I am Briggs& Stratton, Kohler, Kawasaki, and Tecumseh certified. So out of my small engine stuff, I do. Yes, I do a lot of those repairs during the day, and before I do the bikes and stuff like that. So during the day is why most of my videos are taken at night, because during the day when I'm working on stuff here at the house, it's small engine stuff. So you might see some of that stuff kind of floating around, snow blowers and lawnmowers, but primarily that's what I do during the day, and then in the evening I do the videos for you guys and do repairs on bikes, which works out pretty well. So, and I try to show some of the stuff like every now and then I'll do a video on a small engine repair. What a what a that was it could be dirt and it could on an Arctic Cat it could be water in the carburetor bowl. What you're gonna want to do is on your carburetor bowl, there's a screw. You want to take that screw out and drain the fuel out that's in there into a clear glass, jar, or make sure these are dry. But these are good right here. If you have a couple of these that are dry, you take this, you flip it upside down for a little bit, make sure there's no water in it. Drain your fuel into here so you can see it. And then if you see any cloudiness at the bottom, it had water in it. Or sometimes they get debris in them too. It's very common for anything that like snow machines, snow blowers, any type of watercraft like boats. It's very common for them to get water in the carburetor. So you want to drain that out. That would cause that. That's a good question, Brian. Yeah, so that's what I would do first. The first thing I would do is do a fuel sample and see what's going on. The other thing I would check for is vacuum leaks. Make sure because I believe that motor has a line going to the vacuum line going to your fuel pump. Make sure that that's not cracked because if that has cracks in it or is broken, what'll happen is it won't be pumping fuel enough, so it would cause that type of sputter. Stop that. Hmm. Yeah, it sounds like you might have something getting in there. Is it left outside? Is it covered over? The environment will also change a lot of that type of stuff too. So make sure that you're covering over your equipment because a 5 horsepower Briggs, If it gets water up around that top piece there, water can get in there and it causes the hydrolock. Then you got to pull it really hard, and that can cause that. So make sure that it's all free and clear. Check your plug, see what your plug looks like, because that can happen. Yeah, I mean you can on the MC ones, like I said, you can run 87, but it would like a higher octane. If you put a higher octane on it, it will run a lot better. You can run 87, but that creates a lot of carbon. Don't forget the way the combustion works on it. The intake and exhaust are open at one point in the stroke at the same time. You're losing some out there. So if you have a higher octane, you're still going to lose some, but your what do you call it there? Your combustion is going to be more powerful, more robust. So you want the higher octane. What do you mean spray behind it? I'm not following you. Peter, that's a good question. I really never got into the like the A7 and the A8s. I'm really not sure. I think it's an A8. Um, the those never mattered to me. Um, because of the family that they are. That right there, basically, the only time that that's going to matter is if you're which we call it there. The only time that that's going to matter is if you're looking at carburetor specifications for like jets, because some of them used a 77 and a half, some used an 80. I'm going to be honest with you, I cheat. I go 80 right across the board. I don't care what the jet is. The points all have the same gap. Everything's pretty much the same. Some of the earlier ones had the thicker rotary valve, some had the thinner. Other than that, they're all the same. The wiring, you have three types of wiring. You got the two plug connector, which has the two yellow wires, and you have your green and your black. Then you have your spaghetti wires, which has all individual, and then you have your four. It goes into like a four flat connector. Those are your three harnesses for the bikes. Other than that, they're all the same. Yes, I don't. Something doesn't seem right. Sound right what you're doing. And what are you spraying behind the flywheel? And yeah, what are you spraying behind the flywheel? 'Cause that's what I'm curious about. Yeah, that's you want to make sure that you're what do you call it there? Yeah, those the KE 100s. They basically, Aaron's bike, that 74 that he had, that beautiful bike, is basically the same exact bike as my 94 or my 92. There's really no difference. You get your body panels by the water button. Oh yeah, no, that wouldn't be behind the flywheel you spray. If you had that, you would have to spray it in the cylinder. At that point, I'd probably take your cylinder head off and see if there's any debris in there and clean that all out. Also, too, in the 5 horsepower, if you have one of those exhausts where it tips up like this, rainwater will get in there. So you want to make sure that that's all covered over. A good thing to use on those is a coffee can. You take a coffee can, the plastic end off, and stick it over it when you're not using it. That way, water can't get in there. I see a lot of that. Snow blowers and all that stuff. They got the exhaust sticking up like that. Water gets right in that hole, and then that's it. It hydro locks. So basically, what hydro locking is when the piston is coming up and the intake valve has already let the fuel and air in. Instead of fuel and air, the rainwater gets down through the exhaust valve on top of the piston. It compresses it on the compression stroke, and it won't make it all the way to the top. It's hydro locking. I can't talk. The hydro lock's going up. So that's what causes that problem. So what you would do is grab your flywheel and turn it backwards the other way and see if it's how it spins freely, and then it will probably pump it out to the other side. But that's what it sounds like to me. But I mean, if you have rust in the cylinder, that would also cause that. But behind the flywheel, there's nothing back there. It's just a crank seal, and that's it, just a flywheel. So if you spray in back of the flywheel, you're not going to have any. It's not going to do nothing for you on the brakes. Yeah, it's good water. It's good water. Yeah, so check inside the spark plug, pull your plug, or you can just pull your plug out and see if it pulls over nicely. If it pulls over that way and sprays anything up there, well, then a hydro lock. You actually don't have to take your head off. You can just take the spark plug out and pull it over, and it will spray up. Okay? Have water in it, and then you'll know you're getting water in there. Check your oil, make sure it's not milky color um, at that point, because a lot of times, if you want to know how you get water in an engine, take your oil dipstick out, check it, see if it looks like milk or coffee, and if that's the case, then you'll have water that got into your engine. So, pretty cool. One of the things you could do. What's up, Mama? Yep, one of those cool things. So, yeah, I started working on the LT125 the other day. You guys saw that video, I'm sure. And that bike actually came out, the one I did the starter on, the one we talked about earlier. And I had those other two starters that were sitting up top there. I was able to take the parts and pieces from both of those junk starters and make one good starter for the other bike. So now I have my second starter for the other bike. So, and the carburetor came out clean. So it looks like there's going to be both of those bikes up and running, because I'm not gonna junk a bike that's complete. I just can't do it. It'll make it spin faster, but you also take a chance of blowing it up. So the 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton is designed to run at 3,600 RPM, 38 comfortably. I mean, you can go a couple. You can adjust it so it goes up to 3,800. But I wouldn't go faster than that. Removing a governor causes it to over rev. And remember, the crankshaft on a 5 horsepower doesn't have a bearing. The connecting rod itself is a bearing. I'm going to show you that on one of my future videos. That it's really just a connecting rod on the crankshaft, and the connecting rod is machined to be like a bearing. Well, anyway, what happens is when you over rev, you're causing that aluminum to stretch beyond its breaking point, and that's what stops and snaps them. If you want to get more horsepower out of a 5 horsepower engine, there is a couple of things you can do. You can buy a high compression cylinder head that'll give you more power. You can buy a Makuni carburetor setup for it. That'll give you more power, and you can change out your ignition system. They do make a aftermarket ignition system. Um, the other person who might be able to help you if you have it on like a mini bike, check out Redbeard's Garage. I'm not affiliated with him at all. His name is Redbeard Garage, and he does a lot of small engine, like 5 horsepower Predator engines, that sort of thing, and mini bikes and go karts. And he actually works for a go kart place, so that's pretty cool. Um, I'll give him some props. He's got a really good channel, and I subscribe to a lot of channels. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I subscribe to your channel." Well, if you take the time to do that, I'm going to check out your channel and see how it is. I always tell people that it's a community. That's what we're doing. We're helping each other. And I'll tell you, no matter how good you are, you're always going to learn. Always going to learn. So you want to make sure that you're learning something every time you watch a video, every time you watch a channel, or you go on, unless it's a funny one. But if you're watching an educational channel, you want to be learning something, because there is a lot of good tips and tricks. And like, my shelter logic, my tents that I have out there that I work in my shops. I didn't know this, but you can use candle wax on the zippers, and it makes it so they don't stick together and tear. They lubricates them. If you have an old duffel bag, you can use candle wax if it's got like a sticking zipper in your candle wax, not hot candle wax. Just rub the candle on there so it cuts into it, and that'll lubricate it, and it protects it. I don't know, and it works. My green tent, I couldn't even zipper that thing up. I've had it for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now, and I literally couldn't zipper it. It would go down and just bind up, and you look at the zipper, you go, "What the heck is your problem? There's nothing wrong with you." No, there was. It needed lubrication. So I did the candle wax thing. To this day, it's still working beautifully. And I do it like once a year. Just take the candle, go right up and down it, so it cuts into it. Who knew? Also, if you have stainless steel bolts, take your threads, pretend these are threads, you take the candle, put it on there, rub it right onto it like that so that the candle wax is in the threads, screw it together. Then you'll be able to take that apart. Typically, what happens is when you go to take apart a stainless steel bolt, it'll break. Now, if you have candle wax on it, it lubricates it. Excuse me. Tired. But yeah, there's all kinds of cool tips and tricks out there that you can learn. You can learn how to clean certain things, buff things. We're gonna be getting into polishing. We're gonna be back on the Honda 50s pretty soon. We have a lot of bikes. We have Robert's bike. We're waiting for parts to come back from that. Dave's bike. We're gonna finish that one up. Alvin's bike. We're gonna finish that one up. We got Brian's bike that's coming up. It's not here yet. And he's given me his parts bike, so that's got to run. And we got the 2 LT50s. I got the Yamaha Chappie in there. We got a lot of stuff, guys. A lot of stuff. I haven't been doing videos this week all that much. I don't know if you guys noticed, it's been kind of slow. It's been crazy. It has been literally a crazy week. A couple of videos didn't come out. I had to redo them over again. So that's why the Elvin's bike video is broken up into so many spots because it wasn't cut and edited. I had to stop the video and start again. And it's been crazy. And a whole section got cut out with the compression testing. I'm like, no, I just did that. And I got to do it all over again. So I had to do that all over again. I need a production crew is what I need. But no, it's cool. It's all good. All good. I enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun doing these videos and making animation. Sometimes I get 2 steps ahead of myself. Like I was working on the bike. I did a video on showing the bike on the LT 125s, and I'm like, oh, the starter screw's broken off. 2 of them. Oh man, I'm gonna draw one out and get it done. So I started doing that. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a video. So I ended up doing the harder one on video, which worked out pretty well. And it's intimidating stuff if you don't know what you're doing. Some screws are easy to come out, but if they've been broken in there for as long as those aren't coming out. And if you did drill them out, you're gonna cut right in. That's why I showed you guys how the drill bit walks. I know how the drill bit walks. It's happened to me before. And the next thing you know, you're drilling into good aluminum, and you're like, "Oh my God, what do I do now?" And now at that point, it's too far gone. You'll never put a screw in that again. So that's why I do what I do to show you guys. This is how you center punch it, pilot hole. Then you go to the auger. I call it an auger bit. You drill it out, the bigger one, and it's these tips and tricks to help people. These are the problems you see on the field. These are the problems you tighten up the starter bolt and you didn't realize your own strength. That happens. How tight should it be? I over tightened it. Oh my God, what do I do? Now I'm stuck. Same thing. So that's what we do. And I always tell people it doesn't matter if you're using a top of the line tool or if you go to what do you call it there? Excuse me. If you go to Harbor Freight, it's the same. You can use them. Use a rectifier on my. No, the rectifier is for charging, and your points on your MR50 should have its own charge coil. If the bike has a battery On a Honda, it's very common on a Honda to require a battery. So if it has a battery, you need to have that battery on there because that battery goes to the CDI unit. It depends if it has an external CDI. The Kawasaki's have their own little charge coil. Sorry, my nose is itchy. Um, has its own charge coil. So the on the Kawasaki's, the regulator and or the rectifier is only to power headlights and charge the battery. Oh, you're very welcome. Like I said, I enjoy making them, and I'm very happy that to help you guys out, and that's why we keep going. Guys, 95 subscribers away from 5,000. Mind blowing. Thank you guys for all your support. I mean, it's been crazy, and I got over 700 videos out there covering such a wide arraignment, you know, and such a wide arraignment of bike repairs, covering angles, everything. And it's just mind blowing how this channel's taken off. And I never thought I'd be at this point, to be honest with you. And I said when I hit 4,500, we start doing Two Stroke Tuesday. We actually ended up starting it earlier than that. Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome. And I'm happy to help you guys. I'm happy to answer these questions. And this is our time to communicate. Two Stroke Tuesdays is a time for you and me to, you guys ask the questions. I'll give you my best answer, and help you guys with these builds, with these bikes, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together, and we want to see you guys on your bikes, riding them majestically. And I can't stress that enough. That's what this is about. And you guys are taking the time to watch my videos, so that's why I allocated Two Stroke Tuesdays for you guys. You guys answer the question, ask the questions, and I'll answer them. Sounds very good. Thank you. And I enjoy it. I talk with you guys. There's no such thing as a stupid question. You know, questions are questions because they need answers. If you're thinking it and you ask it, someone else is thinking that same question. You just beat them to it, honestly. And a lot of times we feel it's a dumb question, but it's really not a dumb question if you don't know. So, by all means, please ask them because you're not just helping yourself when you ask a question, you're helping someone else out who probably thinks the same thing. You just have the courage to come out and ask it. And this is a learning channel. I want you guys to learn. I want to teach you guys what I know. So when you guys get your bikes, you guys are going to be able to confidently grab your 10mm wrench, turn it, and that bike is going to come to life. That's my plan. That's my goal. So, and we have got some stuff coming up. And you know what? I got you guys. Subscribers are coming up, dropping bikes off to me to work on, which I'm on it. I mean, people have come up from Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, all over the place. Okay, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, literally all over the place. And I am like, wow, this is amazing. And one of the coolest things has got to be dropping your bike off at a mechanic and watching him work on it. Like you see a lot of people, you hear a lot about a lot of horror stories. Oh, I dropped my bike off at the mechanic. He messed it all up. Oh, I wish I could have seen what he did. On my channel, you can literally see me take your bike and go through the entire thing step by step. And a lot of it is repetitive, but that's how you learn. You're gonna know what I'm checking. You're gonna see what I'm checking. You're gonna see these little things. And I'm gonna point out the flaws. And I always stress flaws are only flaws. They can be fixed. It's not the end of all. If I see something, like when I look at an intake, okay, I'm looking at the air filter assembly, the air filter, the hose going to it, all the way up to the carburetor. I'm looking at a whole system, okay? Then you look at your carburetor, your fuel system. What is that? That's your fuel tank, your fuel cap, your fuel tank, your petcock, your fuel hose, and your carburetor, and that's it. Systematically break your bike down. What's involved with the brakes? Well, we're talking back brakes or front brakes. We'll go back brakes. Okay, so now you got to check your mechanism, all your joints where the pins go. So when the lever moves back and forth and it grabs that pin and moves it this way, that whole locking pin, is the pin there? Is the thrust washer? Is the clip on there? Is the bar straight? Is it all bent up? Does it have the spring on the back, the insert, and the nut? Are they proper? These are the things that I always, I break the bike down systematically. Electrical, has it been messed with? Has it been cut, diced, and soldered? I mean, look at Alvin's bike. That battery area, that was a that was a pretty bad nightmare. I mean, there was a lot of cutting, and someone, just butchered it. You know, that's okay. I said butchered. I said it looks horrible and bad, but I'm not putting down the bike. Okay, whoever did that, I'm sure wasn't, an electrical engineer. So we're gonna go in, we're gonna fix it all up right, and then he's gonna end up with a really sweet bike. Period. You know, he's gonna be able to get on that bike, kick it, it's gonna start, and he's gonna be able to ride it majestically. That's what I want to see. That's what I want. I want him to have that same thrill when he gets on that bike that I did. I mean, I spent a little bit. I kicked it over, and off camera, I kicked it over, and I'm like, "Did that thing just start?" It didn't even have any gas in it, but there must have been some type of cleaner or something in that engine, and it literally it fired up. So I'm like, "Well, let's give it a hoot, see if it fires." So I sprayed it, and it fired up. I did that. That part was on camera because I couldn't. I'm like, "Did that thing start?" The first time, I couldn't. I'm like, "Oh, this thing's a runner," you know. But I don't know what Elvin did to it or whoever Elvin got it from, did to make it, to get to that point. I know we checked it for spark, the coil was moved down, so we got that mounted back up. And for the most part, that's all his stuff, all his parts. The only thing I did was change out the magneto because his magneto was dead, and it's not a bad magneto. I'm going to fix it, but I don't have to do that right now. I just grabbed another one, threw that on, and then I'll fix the one that he's got and get it all up and going. But I'll do when I fix that magneto. Now that opens up another video for me. So now I could take that whole magneto apart, disassemble it, test all the coils, the condenser, the points, and all that type of stuff, put it all back together, and then have a good operational magneto for another build. So it works out pretty good. And I have Aaron's old magneto that has just been butchered. So we're going to go ahead and fix that one as well. So tired. So yeah, we have, so that's going to open up a magneto video on charging and all that type of stuff. So it's pretty cool. And then I can rewind windings or do whatever I need to do to make that function the way it's supposed to function. And that's huge. That is huge, especially when you're dealing with a bike that that's been sitting for a very long time. You don't know what happened to it. That's the thing. What happened to this bike? What did this bike go through? Because typically when you buy a bike that's non-running, they're getting rid of it because it's not running, and they have no idea what happened to it. Now you get it, and you're completely in the blind. You don't know what you're buying. Okay, you don't know what to really look for. So I'm gonna start doing a series on what to look for. I think that's gonna be another thing. So I'm gonna do a series on that of what to look for. So tired. Yeah, that I think that would be a good checking out video of what to check out, what to look for. I think that would be a good video because there's a lot of that out there. I can't tell you how many times I've seen bikes and people want all the money for the bike, but the bike is heavily damaged. and they don't realize it, what to look for. So I should do that. That's a great idea. I might even use Alvin's bike while it's on the lift to talk about that, because that's important stuff. You know what to look for. A check. I got to do a checklist video too, which I'm going to do that. I got to do a preliminary check video. What that is what to check for before you ride, and or opening up a bike. On winterizing it and then summarizing it. I think that'd be a good video too. There's a lot of people just take the bikes out and they go running, and they didn't realize that their their oiler vent tube is plugged. God, I'm so tired. So I think that right there would I think that would benefit everybody. To be honest with you, I think that would really help out knowing what to look for before they go, and it's also going to help you guys when you guys go buying these bikes, because I know a lot of you guys get KE 100s, and then you see another one. Oh, should I buy that bike? It's only $300. At that point, buy it. Um, you know, because a lot of times people, which I see all the time, they'll hit the magneto with a hammer. They messed it all up. I'm selling it. I can't get this thing apart. Blah blah blah. I'm all done with it. It's gone. You buy the bike. Now you try to find out what's going on with it. Turns out you smash the magneto. Oh, they smashed the magneto, and then they can't get spark on it. You take it apart, tag you're it, and now you can't find a flywheel, because certain bikes have, the flywheels can be very expensive and hard to find, depending, especially if it's a four magnet, which I run into a lot of. Um, the four magnet flywheel with the CDI is one of the most common, people looking for it, because everyone wants that. Hey, Scott. Do you have any views about fuel injection? I do not. I don't run into those a lot. Typically I deal with older bikes. Um, fuel injection is. Are you having a fuel injection problem with yours, Scott? Because there are some preliminary checks that you can do on that are really, really super easy. Fuel injection. I was thinking about getting into maybe possibly this summer. Um, I was going to turn a carbureted bike into a fuel injection bike for power gains. You know, um, it's a long story about what I was going to do with that, but there are some aftermarket fuel injection kits that you can buy, and of course you have to have a 12-volt system. It doesn't work on 6-volt, but if you have a 12-volt system, you can do that. I used to have a Kawasaki Brute Force 650, and it was carbureted, two carbs. And the sister to that, the Brute Force 750 FI, was fuel injection, and there was a significant amount of power difference. Gotcha. Yeah. No, I have repaired them, but I don't have any, and I haven't had any for this channel. So when I did that, that's when they first came out, and that was prior to me owning the channel, or having a channel, I should say. I don't run into them, and I haven't really run into them that often. It's one of those things that the fuel injection systems have been really outstanding. I mean, I don't run into them hardly at all. Basically, just carburation and old bad fuel is the most common things I run into. I can't tell you how much of that I run into. Jesus, it's almost like every bike has a carburetor problem, honestly, and a lot of it's just the fuel, or they've been sitting for so long. We deal with abandoned bikes. We deal with bikes that have been sitting for 100 years, and people neglected, don't care. Oh, I left it outside. That sort of thing. So we get a lot of that. Get a lot of that. It's crazy, just crazy. So, and you never know what's going to come in the door. That's the other thing. You just never know what's going to come in the door. For a bike, I picked up a lot of different bikes this year. Got a lot of them running, and then flipped them. made profit. Um, Bigger bikes, smaller bikes. You just don't know. Picked up a couple of. I picked up a Suzuki Savage 650. That's gone. The Yamaha. Well, what do you call it there? 400. That's gone. That was a cool bike. I actually like that bike. Yeah, no, they're yeah, EFI. It's just a great. The thing is, with EFI is it's dead on. There's no. It automatically adjusts. You don't have to worry about adjusting an air mixture screw. You don't have to worry about a carburetor bowl with there is no jets. There's no jets. All it is one injector and it sprays in however much fuel the computer's telling it to do. And it's a real simple system. High pressure fuel pump, and then that injector just having at it every time that flywheel comes around. So it is good. It is good. It's a great system. And you can buy tuners for them, adjust them through tuners. You can get more power out of them just with a laptop, and in some cases a cell phone with that connector on them. So there's all kinds of little possibilities on those. You just never know. You can buy aftermarket chips. You plug into the DLC connector, data link connector, and set it up to your phone, change your fuel mapping, and you can make that thing stand up if you want to. And the crazy thing is they knock them down when they're in the factory. Yep, the map sensor. Yep. Some do have map sensors. Some have map sensors. Some have O2 sensors. Um, they're getting more complex with them. I think it goes through the oxygen sensor. Some have map sensors, but most of them have the O2 sensors, and it just tells the yeah, they have what do you call it? It's a simple system. It's a closed circuit, so it basically takes a an air fuel ratio metering through the O2 sensor. So it's reading the exhaust stream coming out and adjusts to that, to the fuel going into it. And it also takes into consideration where the throttle blade is. So that's why you have a throttle position sensor. Literally, the PCM unit knows what everything is doing. It knows what the fuel air ratio is coming out your tailpipe. It knows where the timing is, and it knows where the throttle blade is. And it uses all those sensors to adjust for more fuel and all that. So when you rip the throttle, push on the button, that throttle blade opens. The computer's saying, okay, throttle blade's at this degree, this percentage. And then it talks with the O2 sensor. Okay, well, I'm getting this ratio here. I need to be within this ratio. Give me more fuel, give me less fuel, and it will adjust the parameters. Yeah, it is. It is fun to get the old bikes back on the road again, especially you go to if you're like me, you go to a dump, you see a bike, you grab it, you bring it home, or you just go on Craigslist, offer up, all these places. You get a bike and you're like, that's cheap enough. I'll get it, hit or miss, and then you go through them systematically, and then you're taking this bike and you're bringing it back, kind of like those bikes I got from Harvey Spooner. 30 years in a barn hasn't ran. Well, let's get it going. Well, that's what we want to do. We want to get this thing fired up. We want to ride this thing. I want to enjoy this. It's a classic vintage bike. Let's do this. Let's make something. So it's kind of that's what we do. It's the enjoyment of it. And when they come to life and you ride them and you did something, you you got this thing. You got off your couch. You grabbed your 10 millimeter wrench. You went out there and you fixed the bike. and now you're riding the bike and you fixed it with your own two hands, and there is nothing more rewarding than that. Personally rewarding. There are things more, but you know what I mean. There's nothing better than that. And people, hey, that's a cool bike. Yeah, I fixed it. I fixed it. Myself. That's where it's at. Just picked me up a 1980 Yamaha SF250. And I can't be more excited to get it. That is a cool bike. SR250. Once again, if it has it been sitting for a while, if it's been sitting for a while, first thing you do is attack the fuel system. Flush out your fuel tank. Flush out the petcock. There's a little bowl on the petcock. Take that off. Clean up inside there. Make sure there's no dirt, debris, and no corrosion. Replace your fuel hose. Right down to the filter. Replace your filter. Take the carbs off. Clean them out. Plop them back on. Boom. Done. Then that bike should run beautifully. And I don't think the SR250 ever had an issue with spark. I mean, those are great bikes. The CDIs on those things are pretty bulletproof. There was one thing: if you don't have spark on that bike, yeah, about 5. Yeah, yeah, get those carbs clean. And if you have no spark on those bikes, check your kickstand switch. Very common. So if the kickstand, what do you call it? This, if it won't start, check your kickstand switch. They're just weird bikes like that. So if you do try to put it in gear, it'll stall right out. If it doesn't see it. So yeah, definitely check your kickstand switch if you have no spark. But I think you'll just need to change your clean those carbs. You're gonna have yourself a great bike. That's awesome. A lot of fun on those. I never owned one personally, but a friend of mine had one. Cool little bike. Definitely a cool little bike. You'll get years of enjoyment out of that thing. Hands down. Boom. Yeah, good find. Good find. Yeah. See that? All right. So now, if it did that, you're good. Set right up and title also. Oh, good. I was gonna say, if you get the title to it, that's great. Yeah. So if you spray gas in it and fire it up, clean those carbs, that thing is gonna run beautiful for you. You're gonna get a lot of years out of that bike. Just take care of it. Keep up the oil changes. Go through all that stuff. You're gonna have an enjoyable bike. God, I'm so tired. Been working outside. Been working outside. It's been cold, and then today it was like 43 degrees, and it was like, oh my god, summer. And during the day, I don't have the heater going. I don't run it during the day, only at night when it's brutal. When it's like 20 degrees out, throw my heater in there, boom, pay it out there a little bit and clean that all up. So, but yeah, you're gonna have some. Yeah, that's a good bike. I got tomorrow night. I'm gonna be working on um, what is it there? We gotta pull the carburetor tomorrow night off of Hogan's bike. That taken off, and we're gonna be going through that one, checking that all out, replacing the fuel hose. It needs an air filter boot, but we'll see if we can find one for that. Yeah, I have that heater that I have in my big tent there, and I'll tell you that heater really it goes from 30,000 to 80,000 BTU, depending upon where you put the lever. And that thing, I got for free. It was in my scrap pile. Yeah, someone dropped off, and it worked. It just needed a little striker for the like a grill. I put that on there. Man, that thing throws heat. Oh, it makes it so nice when you're working in there. It's like take your jacket off, be out there in a t-shirt, and 20-degree weather in a tent. It's awesome, just awesome. And I leave the propane tank outside. It's got a long hose set up inside there. Oh, perfect, perfect. Goes right through it. Nice, nice. No complaints. It's. I'll tell you, I couldn't do what I do without it. So that is a huge, huge help. Ugh. So I can't complain. Yeah, throw on some overalls and send it. I had a pair. I can't work in overalls. I tried. I don't know if it's just because I'm too fat, but yeah, it's just I don't know what those. You know who makes a good heater is Buddy heaters. Those things are pretty good. They got these little waffle heater things about that big, and they it takes a regular screw-on propane tank, one of those little ones, and you get pretty good heat out of those. Yeah. Hey, New England, New England weather. It's just crazy. Hey, buddy,
Oh,
you doing?
nothing, just chilling.
Just chilling. Hey, whoa, you just hit my subscriber with your cranium. You gotta watch out.
Down,
Watch out for shaking this, buddy.
go down.
So,
There we go. Am I still hitting a subscriber?
no, you didn't hit any subscribers with your head. Be careful. Oh, Jesus, you just took that guy out. You gonna say hi?
Hi.
Yeah, so, all good.
I'm
Well, have a good night. Yeah.
hiding.
I was just saying good night to him.
I'm hiding the subscribers.
Yep. All right, I'll talk to you in a little bit. I'll come and tuck you in a bit. Well, guys, I'm going to end it here for tonight. And I just want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me and just being a part of the channel. Without you guys, there is no channel. And you guys have been absolutely amazing. I want to say thank you again for all your support. And you guys have just been awesome. So if if there's anything else I could do for you guys, by all means, please ask it. I will thank you, Kyle. And you guys just been outstanding. I'm just so honored to be able to do this and share my knowledge and all that with you guys. So keep up working on these bikes. Keep asking the questions. And together we'll get all these oldies up and going. Oh, you're welcome. Very welcome. Well, guys, you guys have a good night. I will talk to you guys later. As I always say when I sign out, I'm out. If the computer lets me go.